Alright, and welcome back to Microsoft Office tutorials. In this one, this is going to be a continuation of my first Excel tutorial, and in this one I'm just going to show you all about graphing. Now obviously graphing is a major part and a major attraction of Microsoft Excel. So here we have the table that I made from the previous one. So if we go insert, we can see all the different types of tables that we can use up here. So before we make a table, we have to select what information we want. So we're going to highlight all of this information, last names, maths, English, science, and average, and then we're going to click, for example, a column. Now we have all the different types. You have 2D columns, 3D, cylinder, cone, pyramid. They're not really that different. It's just visually they look a little bit different. If you want to make it look a little bit not so bland, then you just choose one of these different ones. So we're just going to use a typical 2D column graph here. So we click on that, and as you can see, it automatically creates a graph using the supplied information, thinking or like using what it thinks is the most relevant. So we have last name Stone, we have maths, English, science, average, same for Widom, Rocks, Johnson, and Nickel. So it's extremely easy. That's all you have to do that I just showed you. So in the graphs, we can do quite a few things. We can change the colors if you like, move chart layouts. This one's probably a little bit, so we can see it's just pretty much just changing the layout if you want it to look a little bit different. And so yeah, and select data, switch row, column. As you can see, it goes, yeah. So for example, if you want each person and the scores shown, or if you want the subject and then the scores of each person, you hit switch row column and it automatically does this. The program is very clever in graphing information and it's almost never wrong, so you don't have to worry about it screwing up. If you don't get it exactly the way you want it, then you can hit switch row or column, and as you can see, it switches it between the two, and it's very, very easy to use. So say for example we didn't want that one, then we can just delete it, and then we can go insert, we highlight the information again, and there's a lot of different types. Say we want a line graph, then you can see that we have line graph is probably not the best one for this. I'm just going to expand it here, so you can see stone, widow, rock, Johnson, nickel, sorry, and yeah. So we don't really like that way, so then we can go switch, and it shows all of the different types. As you can see, again, it's not so much suited to a line graph, but I'm just showing you the different types you can use. Again, changing the colors if you like, but yeah. So besides those two graphs, you also have pie, bar, area, scatter, and some other charts. So I'm just going to compare them all right now. So we can have a 2D graph. So yeah, and that's not obviously the best because it can't actually display everything properly. Then we have a bar graph. Bar is probably better. It's pretty much the first one, just switched. Area graph. And then we have a scatter graph. Scatter graph. Sorry, I didn't do that properly. Excuse me. So then we have something like a scatter graph. And then we can change it else to something like, there's lots of different ones. If you want bubbles, if you want a donut, if you want surface. As you can see, it's different. It displays the information, but not in the best way. But yeah, it's just options, and there's nothing wrong with having more options. Okay, so this is a win-loss graph. So this isn't really going to work. We can choose data range and then location range. So if we just copy this and place it there, location reference is not valid. So what it's saying is that what we've selected is not valid. Now this may come up sometimes when you're trying to make a graph. All this means is that you've selected the wrong information, and what you need to do is go back and reselect it. And as this is a win-loss graph, some of these ones are a lot more specific on what you need to select in order to make them work. So we're not going to worry about this, I'm just going to hit cancel. If you ever come up across an error like that, just make sure you selected the right information. So as you can see, you have all these different types of graphs. Now, for the most part, you're just going to be sticking to the column and the line graph, as they're the two easiest to read, the easiest to use, and so on, and they do the job fine. There's no real reason to use any of the others unless it's very, very specific data that requires one of them, or if you just like the look of it. So yeah, I hope you found this tutorial informative, and I hope you learned something from it. And as always, have a nice day.